Hello, my lovely listeners. I'm so happy to have you back here to join me on a new tale of thrilling mystery. Today, I invite you into the courtroom where prosecutor Harmony Lovington is trying to put behind bars Kale Viser for murder. The trick, though, is that he may be innocent, and all this is probably going to blow south. If you like Law and Order, CSI, then this is the one for you. Enjoy.
We're both lost at a day. Pretty much similar. I don't wanna hear your thoughts. You don't wanna feel my skin. You just wanna dream of sin. Sickness floating in our veins. Players in a spotlight game.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you ever looked at an artist who is supposed to be a good standing citizen and role model and thought to yourself, I had no idea such dark thoughts existed inside his mind? That is exactly who Kale Viser is to the public, a dark thought that no one knew existed. We are not here to talk about his fame, his voice, his public image of an infamous bachelor. No, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to discuss how he brutally and intentionally murdered a young woman. A young woman who could have been your daughter, your sister, your friend. A young woman who went to have dinner with Kale and never had a chance at tomorrow. We are going to present evidence to prove to you that Kale's life in the public eye and behind closed doors are two very different people. So take a good look, because a man who dresses and looks like Kale Viser is a murderer who should be put behind bars. The jury stared at Harmony Lovington with many unreadable expressions as she nodded at them and came to sit down behind the desk and chair. When she looked over at the defense table where Kale sat with his attorney, she wanted to vomit. There he was, dressed in a $1,000 suit with his grayish-white hair blow dry perfectly without a single emotion in his eye. His attorney, D.A. Duke Hahn, was busy whispering into Kale's ear, and while the two looked comfortable and relaxed together, she was ready to rip open Kale a new set of pipes to sing. He turned, and his eyes caught hers as he gave her a smile and then winked at her. Creep, she thought, as she ignored him and turned to where Judge Nancy Wikes pushed up her glasses on her face. Duke took a deep breath and then stood to make his opening statement. He walked right up to the jury and smiled. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to tell you who is on trial today. You have seen him on stage, singing in public, and he probably owns the bank you put your money into. Behind closed doors, he's a man and a human being, just like you and me. He is allowed to have a life and be who he wants to be. In public, it's only an image to make him an income. The fact of the matter is, my client, Mr. Kale Viser, is an innocent man, a man wrongly accused of murdering someone. I would prove to you that he was used, discarded, and at the end wrongfully implanted at the wrong time, at the wrong place, to make it look like he murdered someone. Thank you. The court is yours, Miss Lovington, Judge White said. She stood up. The state calls Lola Hang to the stand. She watched as Lola Hang, a sister to the victim, got up from the gallery and moved across to the front to put her hand on the Bible. The bailiff swore her in, and she took a seat as Harmony rounded the corner to stand by the jury. Miss Hang, can you tell the jury your relationship to the victim? She asked. Lola, a pretty woman with her hair dolled up in a cute bun, with large silver earrings and bright red lipstick, cleared her throat. I am Bella's younger sister. Can you tell us the relationship you and Bella had? We were very close. And did she tell you everything that happened in her life? Yes. Did she tell you about Kale Viser? Lola's eyes scanned to where he sat and replied, Yes, she did. What did she say about him? Lola returned her gaze to Harmony. She said that she was in love with him. And was that something she said a lot? Yes. Tell us how they met. At a concert. His concert, to be exact. Take us back, will you, Lola? Harmony asked. 6 months ago. I met someone. Lola looked up at her sister's twinkling eyes, and she let out a frustrated sigh. This wasn't the first time she'd heard something like this, and she knew it wouldn't be the last. They were sitting together at one of the cafes around the corner from Bella's apartment. I'm not surprised. Bella's face broke into a pained look. Why can't you be happy for me? Lola rolled her eyes. Why should I be? In about 2 weeks, you're going to tell me you're over him because he cheated on you. I've heard this story too many times. Bella sneered, her pretty face turning bright pink from anger already filling her body. She brushed her dark hair away from her face with a pair of perfectly red manicured nails. Whatever, Lola. You should just be happy for me. First, why don't you get rid of that asshole's last name and go back to your true one? Second, have you looked at the trail of men you leave behind? They're all bloodied and bruised from your nonstop gambling and drinking habits. Don't think I don't know you, Bella. I am, after all, your sister. Bella leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms. I should have known you would react this way. What bothers you more, Lola? That I'm getting some or that you're not? Lola laughed and shook her head. I'm not like you. I don't need it to survive. I have a good job, and that's all I need. He's different, Bella said suddenly as she sat up. He's different. How so? For one, he's not a lowlife. He's rich. Severely rich, and he's handsome. So handsome with so much going for him. Yeah? What's his name? Kale Viser. Lola paused, and then she dropped her jaw open. Kale Viser? As in Kale Viser, the hottest pop singer in the country right now? Bella nodded, and Lola sat back in her chair, shocked. How? I went to his concert a few days ago, and as he was singing and taking his shirt off on stage, he looked right at me. We connected, and then he gestured for me to go onto the stage, and I did, and he slipped a key in my hand. The rest was history. Lola shook her head and chuckled. I can't believe you're banging Kale Viser. She beamed. I told you it was different. He wants to take care of me. Lola shrugged her shoulders slightly. You just met him. And he's an artist who travels all the time. How is this going to work? And do you honestly think he's going to really want you forever? Bella shook her head in disgust. Why can't you just be happy for me, Lola? Why do you have to ruin everything in my life? Hey, that part is your talent, all by yourself, Bella. Don't point a finger at me. Shaking her head, she said, You're just jealous of me. As if, Bella. The men you sleep with are a bunch of losers, and I don't have time for losers. Present. Were you happy that Bella was seeing Kale Viser? Harmony asked as the room got quiet after listening to the story of how they had met. I wasn't, but she was a big girl, and I couldn't stop her. Was it because of his background? Objection, Your Honor, Duke said as he stood up, leading the witness. Sustained. Word your questions better, counselor, Judge Witt said. My apologies, Harmony said. What did you know about Kale Viser? Lola shrugged. Nothing, really, except that he was a popular singer and an incredibly famous womanizer. Objection, Your Honor, Duke said as he stood again. On what grounds? Judge Witt asked. Duke's face reddened. Hearsay. Harmony laughed. Your Honor, his background is going to be put on display to prove that he has had numerous bad relationships leading to the murder of his victim. Objection, Duke cried. These are assumed evidence and not even facts, and she's badgering the witness. It's my witness, Harmony cried. Judge Wykes slammed her gavel down. Order! Counselors, approach the bench. Both Harmony and Duke walked up to where she sat with her eyes exhausted and her lips turned. Counselors, need I remind you that in my courtroom I do not run a circus? I don't care how good your track record is. What I want is a clean presentation. And if you have anything to object, it better be more than protecting your client's personal feelings, Mr. Hahn. Yes, ma'am, Duke replied. Now, get on with the show. Harmony returned to where she stood before and asked again, Miss Hahn, was it his background that had you worried? 6 months ago. Bella pulled on the leather dress and fluffed her hair as Lola watched her from the dining table. She came to drop off the mail from when her sister had lived with her after her divorce to find out that she was getting ready to go out. I take it you're still seeing Kale Viser? Lola asked as she flipped through a magazine. Yes, it's been almost 4 months since we've met, and I feel like he's the one. By the way, next week he's going to take me on tour with him. Sounds fun, but make sure you be careful. Sometimes those musicians tend to overdo things too much. Bella ran a lip gloss over her lips and smacked them together. Don't worry, Lola, I'm being real careful. Then she turned around and twirled. What do you think? You look great. Be safe. Present. And that was the last time you saw her alive? Harmony asked. Yes. When did you get the call? Lola brushed back a tear. It was around 10 the next morning when her boss called asking if she was coming in. I hadn't received a text from her about returning home, so I went to check in on her. And what did you find? Nothing, Lola replied. She wasn't home. I had no contact information on Kale, and that was when I received the call from the police. Who called you? It was Detective Brian Reyes that called me. He asked me if I was Bella's sister, and I said I was. And then he asked me to go meet him at this address. Harmony nodded and asked, And did you? Yes, I did. And that was when they showed me her purse and belongings. Why was it just her belongings? Lola began crying. Because she'd been cut up so bad that they didn't allow me to see her. I had to identify her by her belongings. Do you need a moment, Miss Hang? Judge Wykes asked. She sniffed. No, I can continue. Permission to approach the witness, Harmony said. You may. Harmony grabbed a tissue and brought it to Lola, and then she asked, After you identified that it was your sister, what happened next? Lola dabbed at her eyes. I told them about Kale Viser. 6 months ago. The phone ringing woke Lola up from her deep sleep, forcing her to roll over in bed, feeling the ache from the gym workout last night. Reaching over to brush her hair out of her face, she saw that it was Bella's boss calling. Hello? She asked with a morning voice. Lola! Hey, is your sister coming in to work? Why are you calling me? Because she said if there was ever a problem to call you. And she's not here, and she hasn't called. Did she call you? Lola sat up in bed, rubbing the sleep from her eyes, and checked her messages quickly. No, I didn't receive any texts from her. You know what? I'll go check out her place and call you back. All right, keep me posted. The house was quiet, as if no one had entered since the last time she had left, just as Bella was going out to her dinner date. She called her sister's number, but it went straight to voicemail. She hung up without leaving a message and grabbed her keys to head out again when her phone began ringing. The number that lit up on the screen told her it was her sister calling. A smile appeared on her face as she answered with glee. Hey, you, your boss is looking for you. Where are you? She asked. Is this Miss Lola Hang? A male voice asked from the other line. Lola felt a world shift, and she replied, Yes, this is. Who is this? And why do you have my sister's phone? Miss Hang, I'm Detective Brian Reyes. I'm going to give you an address. I need you to come to that place for some business purposes. Right now. When you get there, Call this number again and I'll tell you where to go. Okay. She hung up immediately, but her heart began to pound. It took several moments before she could get her feet to move and walk to her car. Driving there, she realized she was heading to the hospital morgue. Shaking, she let out several deep breaths, and when she finally parked her car, she took out her phone to call her sister's number. The same guy picked up and told her to take the elevator to the bottom floor from the east entrance. Lola wasn't sure how she got there, but she did. And when she entered the bottom floor, she met a handsome young man with shoulder-length hair wearing a black jacket and jeans as he extended a hand to her. I'm Detective Brian Reyes. I'm sorry to meet you under these circumstances, but this is regarding your sister Bella. What happened to her? I need you to come with me. No, Lola cried. You tell me what happened to her. Brian let out a deep sigh and ran a hand through his hair. She's dead. Found murdered this morning, and we need you to ID her. But because of how she was murdered, the only thing we can show you is her belongings, and you'll have to ID that for us. Lola let out a sob and fell to her knees. Oh my God! Brian helped her to stand and put his arm around her. I'm sorry, Miss Hang. She was with Kale Viser. We know. We have him in custody right now. And then he handed Lola a plastic bag with all of her belongings. She took it with shaking hands and held it into her arms. Miss Hang, are those your sister's belongings? Brian asked. Nodding, she replied, Yes, it is. How can someone do this to her? She never hurt anyone. I'll need to take your statement regarding what happened. Are you okay to talk? Present. Harmony watched as Lola dabbed her eyes, and then she gave her a soft smile. I'm sorry for your loss. No further questions. Your witness, Judge Wilkes said as Duke stood up buttoning his suit. He walked to the front of the table, and then he crossed his arms. Miss Hang, can you tell me about George Stein? Harmony stood up. Objection, Your Honor. How is this relevant? I have a point, I promise, Duke said. Then make it, Judge Wilkes said. Yes, Your Honor. Harmony sat back down as he turned around to her and smiled. Then he cleared his throat. Miss Hang, can you tell me about George Stein? Lola blushed, and then she replied, He was my sister's ex-husband. And did he know Kale Viser? No. Permission to approach the witness. You may, Judge Wilkes said. Duke picked up a sheet of paper in a plastic bag and brought it to her just as Harmony stood up. Your Honor, I was not notified about this in discovery. This was just recently given to me, Your Honor, just as of last night. I'd like the witness to read it, and I will enter it as Exhibit A for evidence. I will allow it, Judge Wilkes said as Harmony sat down. Lola, Duke said as he gave her the paper, can you read the highlighted section out loud for the jury, please? Lola stared at it and remained silent. The paper began shaking in her hold, and Harmony watched as the woman's face turned bright red. Miss Hang, please read the highlighted lines, Duke said again sternly. Taking a deep breath, Lola said, Kale Viser is a rich bastard, and if you bang him, you and I can get the money that we need. The entire courtroom burst into gasps as Judge Wilkes slammed her gavel down. Order! Order, or I will hold everyone in contempt! Miss Hang, can you read the name on the bottom of that, please? Lola swallowed and replied, George Stein. Harmony shut her eyes and felt her temple throbbing. When she turned to look over at the defense table, Kale was staring at her. She ignored him and shifted her attention to Lola. And who is George Stein to you again? He is Bella's ex-husband. And did he or did he not know Kale Viser? Lola began sobbing. I don't know. All I know is that my sister is dead and that man killed her. Miss Hang, control yourself, Judge Wilkes said. Counselor, prove your point and move along. Yes, Your Honor. Now, Miss Hang, you just told the jury that your ex-brother-in-law did not know Kale Viser. According to that email, Do you now change your thoughts? I don't know. Isn't it true that your sister was drowning in debt? Lola sobbed. Yes. Isn't it true that she never changed her last name because she was still going back and forth to her ex-husband? Objection! Harmony said as she stood. Irrelevant, Your Honor. Your Honor, Duke said as he turned to Judge Wilkes, my client is on trial for murder, and I'm trying to prove that he's innocent by putting forth the fact that the witness's sister planned this for money. I'll allow it, Judge Wilkes said. Harmony sat down, deflated, as she ran a hand through her blonde hair. She felt her body shaking as she stared at the glass of water, and then when she turned toward the defense table, Kale Viser was again staring at her without blinking. Thank you for tuning in. Chapter 2 will be out shortly.
Both lost at a day. It's pretty much similar. Harmless heartbreak. I don't wanna hear your thoughts. You don't wanna feel my skin. You just wanna dream of sin. Sickness floating in our veins. Players in a spotlight game. So fancy when I'm in the spotlight. I'm still in my privacy. A craving that is knocking you out. Just visions from my eyes. They got me when I'm not holding you tight. I'm feeling your eyes and you love it. 'Cause the distance feeds your limit, alright. I'm feeling your eyes and you love it. It's sick and difficult, but we're not ashamed. Pretty damn mutual. We're not sentimental. No sentiments, no. So fancy when I'm in the spotlight. I'm still in my privacy. A craving that is knocking you out. Just visions from my eyes. They got me when I'm not holding you tight. I'm feeling your eyes and you love it. 'Cause the distance feeds your limit, alright. I'm feeling your eyes and you love it. Your thoughts. You don't wanna feel my skin. You don't wanna feel my skin. You just wanna dream of sin. Sickness floating in our veins. Players in a spotlight game.